Hi, my name is Adriel William, and today's video is for all the fresh graduates who are being invited to a dentist school or will be invited to a dentist school for a interview process. And through my experience working with candidates over the past 3 years, I've learned some things that are common amongst a lot of fresh graduates, and I'm going to share some of the strategies that might help you. So, number one thing that I want to share with you, if you're somebody who got invited and you're a fresh grad, you need to understand that your application has something solid in it, something really outstanding. And that's one of the reasons they are inviting you in the first place, because dentist schools don't want to waste their time on individuals that they think are not good enough. So, if you're one of those people who got an invite or will be getting an invite, well, remember that you have something competitive in your application. Second, you need to understand that most of these dental schools have a vast number of seats, like Boston has 80, some have 40, 20, but majority of them lie somewhere between 30 and 40 seats. And on those spots, they want people who come from diverse path of life. So they don't just want everybody with a master's. They don't want everybody with just dental assisting experience. They want a vast majority in their pool. And one thing I can tell you, if you're a fresh grad, one thing that will work for you or is actually a positive aspect on your side is that you're young, and youth is one of the strongest thing that anybody can hold. But the downside to it is when you're young and you get an opportunity, most candidates I've talked to are hyper excited and then they act naive. So let me explain what I'm saying. When I'm preparing a fresh graduate for an interview, one of the things I've seen over time is that they are so energetic and comparatively they are so happy about this opportunity that I do see a youthful childlike persona coming out, that they are so happy, all their stream of thoughts are just drooling down, like they will keep speaking and they will go really fast. And usually I have to stop them in a gentle manner and have to tell them, listen, you're being given this opportunity. During the interview, I would highly suggest that you present a mature side of yourself as well, because there is a balance. And I personally learned this from a psychological point of view, that in our personalities, to be a well rounded person, you need to create a balance. If you're somebody who's very young, you want to present a side of you that holds some level of wisdom. If you're somebody who's very masculine, you want to develop a feminine side of yours, which have empathy. So you want to always have like the yin yang effect, having that well-rounded personality. So coming back to somebody who's young, when you're young, the downside is that you don't have much experience because you only lived a small amount of life on this earth. And there's only a certain amount of things that you have accomplished over time. But the good side is that you bring a lot of energy to the table. You still have that positivity. But when you're sitting in an interview and when you're preparing your answers about, tell me about yourself, about your strength, about your weakness, you want to present one very important thing, that maybe I've not done as many things as other people because I'm younger, but I hold some level of deep wisdom in the things that I did. So even if you just did one BDS or one undergrad, or you just did one volunteer work, when you're talking about that experience, go a little bit in depth about your experience. Talk about some interaction that you had. For example, I'm giving you an example that if you're talking about a volunteer work that you did with a non-profit organization like Mission of Mercy, talk about one specific patient that you saw up there. For example, in my case, I would mention that when I was volunteering, I got to see patients who were actually war veterans from war of Afghanistan, and who were suffering from PTSD, had opioid problems, and then they couldn't take care of themselves or their dental needs, and they were coming in at Mission of Mercy. And at that time, looking at their dental situations, looking at their overall health, their psychological condition and mental condition, kind of gave me a better understanding and perspective of the problems that are currently arising in the US. So when you talk about something, any experience, it can be your basketball experience, your football experience, your cooking experience, volunteer experience, go in depth, think about your answers, and when you're thinking about them, find something very unique about that experience. It can be a poster competition that you did, but find something that you experienced or saw or heard or even felt which was quite unique. And then the magic work is this, that you need to communicate this during your interviews. So if you're a fresh grad and they talk about, most probably one thing they will ask you is, uh, have you ever dealt with stress in your life? And I usually suggest individual, well, it's not your fault that you haven't gone through traumatic experience in your life. It's a good thing that you haven't gone through them. But you also want to show them that you are not naive and you are well aware that the dental school is a very stressful time in the United States. And I'm telling you from my personal experience, it is. So when you're talking about dental schools in the US, show them that you have done your research, you have talked to individuals, you have visited campus, you have made some effort to actually understand what you're jumping into. Because here's the thing, dental schools are very, very particular about giving an admission to a person who's going to drop out after 3 months or who's going to have issues later on and won't be able to cope up with all the stress in the school. So when you're presenting yourself, make sure you don't act naive. And I personally feel it's a very good thing that when I'm talking to fresh graduates, they have a big smile and they have a lot of energy, which is a sign of youthfulness. But my suggestion, my only suggestion is be happy, smile big, but use your words very carefully. Because if you're thinking really fast and if you're an extrovert, especially like if you're an extrovert and you think really fast, be careful how your words spill out because it can be, I would say, a dangerous zone to step into, and you might say something that you won't be able to explain. So that's and this is something you learn by practice. So if you have something going on in your head and you're thinking about some questions or you're thinking about some answers, write them down first. Maybe write them in point or write them down and think about them and then practice them in front of a mirror, in front of a camera, so your thoughts become gradually more and more clear. And I personally feel like you have to develop, because interviews are just for 20-30 minutes. And what you want to do, you want to present a persona, a side of you which is comparatively more balanced. If you're somebody who smiles too much, you want to calm yourself down a little bit and move or use your words comparatively slower. On the other hand, I get to hear people say that, Adriel, you don't smile in your videos. Well, I do smile when I need to, and I do smile when I'm in a place where I know it's needed. And the thing is that you develop both sides and you use them wisely where it is needed. So these are some of the suggestions, and I've seen this across a lot of fresh graduates, is that don't show naivety in your interview. Go and do some research, talk to people, understand what you're getting into, because there's going to be a lot of stress, there's going to be a lot of loan, and plus you're going to be staying away from your family, or you're going to go through things that will age you really fast. I hope this video helps you, and hopefully I'll see you in a more meaningful video. Thank you.